What's going on, everybody? I've been thinking about doing some videos on another one of my hobbies, which basically includes working on cars, tools, and things of that nature. Now, I kind of wanted to get your guys' feedback on whether that's something you'd be interested in. But for today's video, I wanted to talk about basically 10 tools I'd recommend for the DIY mechanic. Now, what do I mean when I say DIY mechanic? Well, I'm talking about people that don't work on cars for a living. They're not a service technician, they're not a mechanic, but they come home on the weekends and maybe their car breaks, a part fails, and they want to replace it themselves to save some of the cost of not having to take it to a mechanic or to the dealership or wherever. Or maybe they just want to perform their own service on their vehicles, something of that nature. Now, that's basically my situation. I don't work as a mechanic full time. That's not my day job. But I do some work for other people. I've done everything from blown head gasket replacements. I've replaced multiple turbos on Volvos. I've worked on, I own a Nissan Frontier as well as a Toyota FJ Cruiser. I've worked on Nissan Altimas. Everything from brakes to just a multitude of things. Alternators, batteries, intake manifolds, just you name it. I've done it all. And so it's just something that I kind of enjoy, although mostly my interest in this came from just wanting to save money and wanting to just be more efficient with being able to fix things. So it's something I'm interested in. So what I'm going to basically do is, in no particular order, I'm going to start showing you guys 10 of the tools I'd recommend for the DIY mechanic. Now, I'm not going to include things like screwdrivers, because obviously you're going to need your basic tools, basic mechanics hand tools. You're going to need a lot of screwdrivers. You're going to need your wrenches. You're going to need ratchets and good set of sockets. And you're going to need pliers and other things like that. But I'm just going to show you basically some of the stuff that is not the basic stuff that I find really useful and I think have really served me well. And I would recommend to you guys if you like working on cars. So first item I'm going to show you guys is a mirror. Now this one is a Titan mirror. I think I got it from O'Reilly's Auto Parts. Honestly, the brand doesn't really matter. I just got this one because it flexes, it extends to longer, and it works pretty well. And what you're going to need something like this for is basically you're going to drop bolts places or fasteners or nuts. You know, you're going to be working on something behind an engine or where there's all these different crevices for something to fall, and you're not always going to be able to hold on to it with your hand. And when it gets into a tight to reach place, this is really helpful to find it. This is also useful for when you're working on something and you cannot see where you're working. For instance, I just got done replacing a turbo on a Volvo Cross Country. I believe it's a white block. And it's right behind the engine, in between the engine and the firewall. So there's a lot of spots and a lot of nuts that you have to get to that you can't see. So to use this to get around corners and to be able to just see a little bit can really, really help. So I find a mirror, doesn't matter the brand or the type, one that extends and is flexible and moves in different configurations, very, very useful. So I'm going to recommend a mirror. The next item I'm going to talk about is a magnet. Now, again, I don't even know what brand this one is, but this is one that I got off Amazon. And again, it extends very long. And this one even has a light. But I don't use that much, but it is nice to have. But what you're going to need something like this for is very similar to the mirror. If you drop a nut behind the engine somewhere or in front of it or wherever in a crevice somewhere, this is really helpful in reaching it if it's, metal. Now, sometimes you might drop a copper washer or something, and then this isn't going to grab that. But for things like fasteners and nuts and all kinds of stuff that you might drop in places where you can't reach, this is an absolute necessity. I used this multiple times on the last job I did replacing that turbo on that Volvo. So I recommend you pick up a magnet. Again, it doesn't matter what kind. This is just the kind I picked up. I think I got this one on Amazon. And the next item I'm going to talk about, recommend, is you're going to want a good light or a multitude of lights. Now these don't have to be the most expensive ones, and honestly this is the one that I've used the most. This is an Energizer. Don't even know the model. Picked this up at Home Depot, but it's powered by 4 AA's, and this thing is just indestructible. The case is made out of plastic as well as rubber all around the body. I've chopped this thing at least 20 times and it still works. It's extremely bright and it gives just a really broad beam, so it really illuminates what you're working on very, very well. There is a hook on top that you could extend and hang it from something kind of like that, which I use sometimes. There's also a magnet right here. This is a magnet, so you can stick it up to metal somewhere and it will stay, although if you stick it like this, it probably is too heavy to stay. But if you stick it like that to something, then it'll stay. I don't use it like that, honestly. I just kind of set it on top of something and I use that to light up the surface that I'm working on. But this has been my absolutely favorite light working on vehicles. Really long run time, it's indestructible, and these are not that expensive. They're like 20 bucks, I think. But any light, you can use a flashlight. Any kind of light is gonna really do you good, and you're gonna just have to have it if you're working on vehicles. It's just a necessity. Now the next item I wanted to talk about are a couple of ratchets. Now, obviously ratchets are tools that everyone's gonna need, but what I'm talking about are these flex head ratchets. These ones right here, Pittsburgh, they are Harbor Freight. This is the professional model, but the good thing I like about these is that if you break them, just take them back to Harbor Freight and they will exchange them. The process isn't really that hard, and I haven't broken any of the Pittsburgh ones. These have been pretty good. I did break, let's see if I have one here. I did break a Duralast one once that I had bought from AutoZone, and I did have to get that one replaced, and it broke right here. This piece just broke off, but these are really valuable to have because a lot of times you're going to be working in places where you can't reach the angle that you want. And you can't always have like multiple swivels on your sockets. Sometimes it's easier just to have a flex head, and get right to the area so that you can get to that bolt that you can't see that's in a tight space. So I highly, highly recommend any kind of flex head ratchet. Buy the best hand tools that you can. Again, these are the Pittsburgh Professionals. I buy these at Harbor Freight. I have the 3/8 and the 1/4 inch versions. These are about 15 to 20 bucks. These ones do not lock, so you do have to kind of tighten the bolt there to keep them so that they stay into place. But some other brands do make better ones where there is actually an indentation that clicks each time you move it and it stays in place. These ones are just kind of freely moving, but if you tighten this bolt right here, it works pretty well and stays in place. But I definitely recommend some flex head ratchets. Very, very useful. Now these are my my most recent tool purchase. I picked up some of these ratcheting wrenches. So basically these are just like your regular wrench, but on the box side, it actually ratchets. It spins so that you can get on a fastener or get on a nut and actually just use the wrench to remove the bolt or remove the nut. And these are extremely helpful. These will help you to speed up. This is going to help you speed up a job. If you're pressed for time, you're a person that likes to get your jobs done quick, or you just want to be a little more efficient, I highly, highly recommend some of these ratcheting wrenches. You can get any kind you want. I would just recommend you buy the best kind that you can. I buy these Duralast at AutoZone because they are guaranteed for life. So right now, as of right now, the return policy at AutoZone is really good. So I haven't had to return any of these tools, but I have had to return some other Duralast tools to AutoZone, and I had no issues. They just swapped them out. So that's why you can go to any AutoZone. AutoZones are all around the United States, and you can just go get another tool if one breaks. But I just got these recently, but they've really helped in the last couple jobs that I've done. They've just been extremely, extremely valuable. I just have a couple of these out, but I have a whole set in metric because I mostly work in metric. So these are highly, highly recommended. If you can get your hands on these, I know they're expensive. Just buy the best ones you can. And if you can't buy a full set, pick up some of the ones you use most often, like a 10 or 12 or a 14 millimeter if you're working on, depending on what cars you work on, but those are highly, highly recommended. And let's see, the next one I'm going to recommend is a voltmeter. This is just one I've had for years. I believe I got it at Home Depot. But honestly, it doesn't matter what brand you buy. Just get something as good as you can. You want to be able to test voltages. A lot of times you're going to be working with electrical systems. Actually, you're almost always. So, you know, if you have a dead battery or you're trying to diagnose why a car won't start, you need to be able to determine if it's because of a dead battery or if it's because you don't have a ground or if it's because the alternator is not charging your battery. There's just a multitude of things, and if it's electrical related, you're gonna need a voltmeter. So that's the one I have. Again, the type or brand doesn't matter all that much, but get the best that you can. And this one I think was probably, when I bought it at least 10 years ago, it was probably just like 40 bucks, and it still works great right now. Let me just get a drink of coffee here, 1 second. All right, so the next tool I'm going to talk about is an OBD reader, a scan tool. This one that I have is a Bosch. It's not the cheapest model, but it's not the most expensive either. And what you're going to need this for is if you have a check engine light or you're trying to diagnose a problem, this is going to be very, very valuable to you. Now, I don't recommend you guys buy just the really cheapest scan tool you can that just reads the codes. I recommend you try and find one that has live data. You know, you want to be able to look at your short-term and long-term fuel trims. You want to be able to look at the voltages that your oxygen sensors or your air-fuel ratio sensors are putting out. Things like that. You want to be able to see your coolant temperature. You want to be able to see all of that data that's available to you that your vehicle is putting out. So this one does have live data, and it's really, really useful in trying to diagnose a problem. So I highly, highly recommend that you get yourself a good scan tool. This one, again, is a Bosch. It's not the lowest end model. It's not the highest end model, but it does have live data. And it's really, really useful in working on vehicles and diagnosing problems. So the next tool I'm going to talk about are going to be some power tools, some cordless power tools. So probably the one I use the most, this is the Milwaukee M12 cordless ratchet, okay? It uses the M12 battery system. Extremely, extremely useful. Many mechanics find this thing very, very useful. It really makes work of the jobs you're doing, just taking off fasteners. And the great thing about it is it's just like a ratchet. So you can actually ratchet it when you're hooked up to a 3/8 socket. So let's say you're taking off a bolt or a nut, and you know it's not torqued on there very much. Well, you can just even break it free from this, or you can use it like a manual ratchet, and then you just can drive that fastener in with this thing. And the trigger, you can adjust the speed of it by how gently you press the trigger. So you press on it hard and you get your full power. Now this thing only has, I believe, 35 foot-pounds of torque, so you're not going to over-torque anything with this. And you don't really want to break free anything much more than that as well. But for working on jobs where you have to take a lot of fasteners out, you have to take a lot of nuts out, this is really, really useful. This is one of my favorite tools. Ever since I got this, I probably use this the most out of anything. So if you can swing this and you like the M12 system of tools, this is highly, highly recommended. One of my favorite tools for sure. I'm going to put that there. Then I'm also going to talk about an impact. Now, this is something that I got this before I got the ratchet, and I did use this periodically, mainly just to break free bolts that maybe I don't want to use a breaker bar on. Now this one's you're not going to take off lug nuts with this on a daily basis. You can take some off, a few times, maybe a small car, but it's not something you're going to be doing every day with a small tool like this, a small impact driver. But if you can afford to get an impact driver, it can really help you out. And also it can help you complete jobs faster when you're dealing with a lot of fasteners, and time is money basically. So I do recommend an impact driver. Actually, if you can get an impact wrench, that would be even better, but they are a little more expensive. This one, you just put a 1/4 inch adapter to 3/8, and you can use it on your 3/8 impact sockets, if you have any. Now, if I was to choose between this power tool and this one, I would definitely take the Ratchet over the impact, just for the type of stuff I do. Although it's nice to have, sometimes you're not going to be able to have both. So this is just something that I definitely recommend. And again, I have the M12 fuel system of batteries and chargers. So having the brushless impact uses the same battery. All right, guys, sorry about that. The camera went ahead and died. Not sure why, but as I was saying, definitely look at either getting an impact driver or impact wrench if you can. I just have the Ratchet, I have the Ratchet and the impact driver, and I'm saying if you were to buy one of the two, I would definitely pick the Ratchet. Now, just a quick note, Milwaukee is coming out with a new set of ratchets, the 3/8 as well as the 1/4, which is going to be a little more powerful and a little bit more sturdy in the body of the tool. So just keep that in mind, that they are coming out with a new model. You might want to wait until that comes out or take a look at that before you would decide to buy something like this. Now, lastly, if you're not going to be able to pick up these power tools, something that I've found useful are these Sunix T-spinners or T-handle drivers. So I have the 1/4 inch and I have the 3/8, and basically these have a clutch right here where you can just hold on to and spin these freely if you're hooking up to a socket. So these can really be extremely quick in working on a job, because with this clutch you can move it up and down, you know. You can move it up a little further depending on what you're working on, and you can break a bolt free, a fastener, and then you can just spin it out real quick. So I found these to be extremely useful, and I do recommend checking them out if you like using these type of T-handle spinners. I found them useful. I don't quite use them as much anymore now that I have more of the power tools, but if I'm working on something where I need to keep adding a long, like 3/8 or 1/4 inch extension, like for instance, I was doing a manifold on my Nissan Frontier that was leaking, and it was really nice to be able to use this and not have to keep hooking up a longer 1/4 inch extension. So I just was able to take those fasteners out real quick. So it really helped. So again, this is the 10 items I'd recommend for a DIY mechanic to check out if you don't have them. Now, obviously, again, you're gonna need all of your basic hand tools. You're gonna need a good set of sockets. I highly recommend you spend your money on your sockets. You wanna buy them to last, as well as your ratchets. Just get the best that you can. And you're gonna need all your pliers and things like that as well. But these are just some items that I find really useful in addition to those things, to all the basic tools. And I think these are 10 of the most used that I've gotten, that I really do not regret buying, and I just wanted to share that with you guys. So what am I missing here? If you guys use something other than what I have, let me know what some of your favorite tools are in the comments, and let me know if you like these type of videos, because if you do, I'll do more. And I'll do more of some automotive repair type stuff, which is another one of my hobbies. Now, if you guys found this video useful, I'm gonna go ahead and link up alternative products or these products, a link in the description box to my Amazon affiliate links. And if you did like the video or you want to pick one of these up, I would highly appreciate if you guys would check them out through my Amazon affiliate links. Doing that will not cost you anything else, or in addition to what you're paying for the tools. All it's doing is just helping out the channel a little bit, so I could bring more content to you guys and be able to purchase more stuff to talk about and just things like that. If not, no worries. I appreciate you guys for stopping by and watching, and until the next video, I'll see you guys later. Peace.